Welcome to the Fast Mode podcast series. I'm Tara Neil, and with me today is Tomer Avni, VP of Product at Tenable AI Security. Tenable, the exposure management company, exposes and closes the cybersecurity gaps that erode business value, reputation, and trust. The company's AI powered exposure management platform radically unifies security visibility, insight, and action across the attack surface, equipping modern organizations to protect against attacks from IT infrastructure to cloud environments to critical infrastructure and everything in between. Welcome, Toma. Great to have you on today's episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, awesome. Okay, so let's dive right in. Let's talk about the vulnerabilities and security gaps that we find in AI applications, and how do these gaps compare to traditional applications?
Yeah, for sure. So, I think the vulnerabilities and the security gaps that AI applications and platforms are introducing are inherently different than the kind of vulnerabilities and security gaps that we've been used to in the last few decades in the security domain. And I would explain why. So I think there are three main categories that you can think about when you think about AI vulnerabilities and AI risks. Those are around data exposure, manipulation of the AI outputs, and
Mm-hmm,
malicious actions that can be taken.
mm-hmm,
So, data exposure, think about things like your Copilot Studio, exfiltrating data, your most sensitive data to the outside world.
mm-hmm,
Manipulation of outputs might be an internal AI application that was built for all of your employees. And if any manipulation is happening, then employees are taking decisions and actions based on outputs that are actually manipulated and not true. And then
mm-hmm,
malicious actions, I think, are the most, severe one because as any AI system is becoming agentic, and
mm-hmm,
that means basically autonomous or being able to take actions, then malicious actions can take place, and vulnerabilities can actually make the AI take the wrong actions. And
mm-hmm,
so these are the three different risks that exist with AI. And I
mm-hmm,
think, as mentioned, they're very different than what we've been used to, and especially the malicious actions. I mean, in the past, the software that we've been using or the technology that we've been using within companies couldn't really take its own actions without human oversight. But now it is
mm-hmm,
possible. And so when malicious actions take place, a whole slew of bad things can happen to companies and organizations. I think the
mm-hmm,
last
mm-hmm.
point that maybe I want to mention on this is around shadow AI. So,
Yep.
there always been shadow IT, right? And it sounds like maybe
Mm-hmm,
sound for some people that it's kind of the same thing. But it's actually very different because AI is embedded in each and every thing that we do. So it's not just in the SaaS, right, the software as a service that we're using as people, as employees. It could also be an agent that is developed on the endpoint of a user, or it could be maybe a cloud resource that actually has some AI components. And so AI is everywhere, and so shadow AI is everywhere, and that's why the shadow AI risk is very different and on a very different level than the shadow IT that we were used to in the last couple of years.
mm-hmm. You're right, because I think we are starting to hear this thing about AI governance,
Mm,
in software development
mm,
and also in the use of cloud and
mhm,
SaaS apps. So you
mm,
pointed out the right thing, especially on shadow AI. In fact, even I
mm,
was thinking that shadow AI would just be, your employees using applications like ChatGPT, things like which are not really
yeah,
authorized, but to
yeah,
basically get some work done. But now that you pointed out some other ways where shadow AI actually creeps in, because
yeah,
endpoint and some cloud resource may actually employ
yeah,
some form of Gen AI and AI, right? So
yeah,
wow,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
the whole like next level of vulnerabilities and really an
yeah,
expanded attack surface that people are looking
yeah,
at. And
yeah,
and I
yeah,
and I think
yeah,
the other thing is that the awareness, right, of this, because not many people are aware
mm,
that using AI exposes them to this risk. So I guess
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
huge thing.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and if I
so
if maybe if I can add on that, by the way, um, if that's okay. I think, on the shadow AI piece, definitely. And I think one of the most common questions that we get from customers or new companies that are approaching us is, I want to know what AI is being used in my environment. And, every
Mm-mm.
day there is a new AI tool that is introduced, a new AI capability that is being embedded in an existing tool. And, I very much empathize with our customers and with the security leaders that are really frustrated. On the one hand, they really want to enable innovation within their
Mm-hmm.
companies, right? But they're really overwhelmed with the amount of tools and the amount of, the huge progress that is being happening every single day. And so shadow AI is, even to some extent, I want to know what are the AI capabilities, what are the AI options, what AI my employees are being used. And I think that's probably one of the top questions that we get from customers.
Mm-hmm. And I guess there's going to be huge AI audits after this, right? Because of
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, okay, building on that, okay, let's say
Hmm.
we don't adequately address these risks.
Hmm.
What are we looking at?
Yeah, yeah. So maybe I'll give a few examples of things that can happen. So
Mm-hmm.
on the first one, on the data exposure, you can also call it data leakage or data exfiltration. It depends on various different things. I won't go into the specific details, but
Mm-hmm.
exactly as you said, if an employee of a company is going to the free version of ChatGPT, there
Mm-hmm.
are some configurations in which the free version of ChatGPT can actually train on company's data. There is a company, I was approached by a CISO, a Information Security Officer, a few months ago, and this CISO was telling me that their VP of Customer Success was giving all of the negative feedback
Mm-hmm.
that customers gave on that company, and
Mm-hmm.
put it into the free version of ChatGPT to get some kind of a summary of what did customers say. And then the
Oh,
CEO
God.
heard about it, and the CEO freaked out because now it's not only that ChatGPT trains on this data, it's actually trained to think more negatively about this company
Oh,
because it
God.
only got the negative feedback, right? So, the VP of customer success definitely wanted to just, do the job, right? Just to be
Mm-hmm.
great at their job. But they just with, people there are so many tasks and so many things, and it's very hard to think about those mistakes. But now it's almost kind of over because there is no real way to fix it once this thing is being done, right? So it's data leakage on steroids, right? In this example. But
Yes,
I,
yes.
I think another thing that is important to think about it when it comes to data exposure or data exfiltration is that it's not just about employees putting sensitive data into free version of ChatGPT. It could actually be also the very well guarded system. So, many customers are telling us, oh, but I'm using Microsoft Copilot, so that should probably be pretty good, right? Because it's Microsoft Copilot, so it's on my own
Mm-hmm.
premise, it's within my own boundary. Probably there is no data leakage, or same they're saying for Google Gemini, or or for
Mm-hmm.
Amazon capabilities and so on. And I think it's important to
Mm-hmm.
understand that even in those scenarios, there is the risk of data exposure, and we see it, by the way, on a daily basis with our customers. Because let's take as an example Microsoft Copilot. It's just instantly connecting to all of companies' most sensitive data, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
emails, the share, just
Yep.
everything, the CEO's documents. And so we see on a daily basis employees asking Copilot, what's the salary of my colleague? How am
Mm.
I performing
Oh,
compared to my colleagues? Give me
oh
the
gosh.
board deck slides. What's
Uh-huh.
the financial projections of our company? People are very
Uh-huh.
curious, hopefully, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's more malicious than just being curious. But
Oh,
the internal
okay.
exposure of data can also happen because those tools have very complex configuration, very hard to understand, what data it has access to, and then employees or malicious actors can get access to those things. And the last example that I'll give is more around the malicious action. So let's take even a simple example that a company built with Copilot Studio or with Bedrock, an agent that is supposed to pay to kind of manage the payroll in the company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A simple email that is sent to anyone in the company that
Mm-hmm.
contains jailbreak, can actually make this payroll assistant or agent just pay money to the wrong people, right? So malicious
Mhm.
actions on completely next level and something that has no human oversight. So these are just a few examples. That I don't want to scare anyone, but unfortunately, this is very practical and realistic, and we see those things happening, and it really shows the kind of unique things that can happen if AI is not monitored.
You know what? Just now, as you were giving us the examples from data leakage, and then the second one, even
Yeah,
if you have a well-guarded internal system, but your
exactly.
employees can be using, and the third one, the malicious, the malicious activities. I think each one is
Hmm.
becoming progressively more alarming than the earlier one, and
Yeah,
we can see, this is going to be endless because people
yeah.
are not very aware of what really an AI engine is capable of, because they think that they're just
Mm,
asking some questions and giving some data and it stops
yeah,
there, because people are used
yeah,
to traditional applications like Microsoft Excel and
yeah,
a lot of SaaS
yeah,
things, and they've
yeah,
not seen anything at this level,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and like you pointed out, human oversight. If the lack
Mm,
of human oversight, and you have
mm,
agents, digital agents that
mhm,
are taking all these outputs from AI engines and
mhm,
then applying them, just like that, without anyone being in the loop. So
mhm,
any human being
mhm,
in the loop,
mhm,
and that's going to be like I just can't imagine the
mhm.
kind of risks that we are looking at, especially across organizations that are too quick to adopt this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, because it's some
yeah.
kind of KPI. If they say that we have integrated AI, we have integrated
Mm-mm.
generative AI capabilities, it's like a huge thing, and everyone's going for it. So you can't blame
Everyone's going
them.
for it.
Yeah, but like you said, without any safeguards, and I think that the risks are
Yeah.
really huge. So going to that, so
Mhm.
what's your advice? What strategies can organizations adopt? I mean,
Yeah.
realizing the kind of things that they're looking at.
Yeah, I think, it starts from visibility, right? Because if you don't know what's happening, if you don't know what your employees are using, if you don't know what's the AI footprint that you have within your company's environment and boundaries, then you cannot even have a strategy to some extent, right?
Mhm,
Because
mhm,
what are you basing this strategy on? So I think for the visibility, it's very important to understand what I mentioned before, which is visibility for AI has to do with what's happening on the endpoints, what's happening in the network, what's happening within cloud environments, what's happening within data platforms, what's happening within AI platforms. So visibility to AI is not just siloed thing that can be easily solved. And I'm saying that really because many customers that we meet, they're telling me, "Oh, I don't want to mention names, but I'm deploying this kind of solution or that kind of solution, so it probably gives me visibility to AI." But I'm telling them, "No, this solution is only looking at what's happening on the network level, or this solution is only happening at what's happening on the cloud, and this is very, very limited." And you don't want to just look at those things in a siloed way. You actually want to be able to correlate between what's happening on the endpoint and what's happening on the cloud, and so on. That's kind of the best way to get the visibility. So that it starts with this visibility. Then the second part is to understand what are the different configurations and misconfigurations of those platforms, of those tools, that can really risk the business. So I'll give one example that I find is really telling the story. So there is
mhm,
this the new cool kid on the block called Cursor. I don't know if you heard about it. It's a code assistant,
mhm,
probably today the most popular code assistant, AI code assistant for developers. Really, really great tool. Many people use it. I'm using it personally for personal stuff, and it's really great. Really great experience. And if you don't know what's the configuration of Cursor, then you could miss many things. So I'll give you an example.
mhm,
You might approve as a CISO that a Cursor is in use, but you don't really know that developers connected Cursor to DeepSeek, because that's an option. You can connect Cursor to different LLMs in the backend. So you
mhm,
see Cursor, you approved Cursor, you see also on the network level, by the way, that people are using Cursor. You have no way to know that Cursor is actually sending the code to DeepSeek, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
even take a network solution, a CASB solution, Those tools are looking at what's happening between the user and
Mhm.
the internet, the network. So the communication between Cursor and DeepSeek is not happening within companies' boundaries. So you won't be able to know about it. So
Mhm.
that's one
Wow.
example. Another example of cursor misconfiguration, it could have this thing that is uh, it's been called YOLO mode. Now it's agent mode, run mode. So these things are able to run actually commands and actions on the machines of the users. So that's another potential misconfiguration. So, this kind of seemingly simple tool as Cursor can have many different misconfigurations that can really risk the business.
Mhm.
And then the last point that I would say is around looking at what actually happens, the sessions themselves, to understand was there actual AI exploitation taking place, a jailbreak, a prompt injection, many other attack techniques to see whether the AI was manipulated, to see
Mhm.
whether malicious action was taken, because there are some remediation steps that need to be taken, and there are some kind of further investigation that needs to happen. So I think these are the three main strategies. I think another thing that it is general true for security, but maybe in particular true for AI, is the education of the user. So we
Mhm.
mentioned this thing, the story about the VP of customer success. I don't think these people are bad people. They're just employees that want to be great at their job, but maybe they didn't get the right
Mhm.
education and awareness around what are the things that can happen, or what are the alternatives, right? Many companies
Mhm.
are paying a lot of money for stuff like Microsoft Copilot, but they're not necessarily telling their users why they should be using those specific systems and not, the unsanctioned tools. So I think education is very important, and education that is specific to the employee's job, to company's mission. So these are my main recommendations.
Mhm. So, we talked about these strategies that they can employ, which means that,
Yeah.
and you rightly pointed out that, before they employ these strategies, they need to know the gaps, and then they need to
Yeah.
need to know where things can go wrong. And like you pointed out,
Yeah.
the simple things like configurations and not knowing what where these machines are attached to, maybe they're integrated with
Mhm.
other applications outside there that you have absolutely no control of. And then also,
Mhm.
having visibility into the applications. So, and like you said, just knowing the patterns of attacks and being able to alert maybe the admins,
Mm.
of what's happening when people are using these applications. So, yeah, that's
Mhm.
those require, I guess, those require not just an understanding, but also very comprehensive strategies, right? Like you need to document
Uh,
your risks, and you need to know whether
mhm.
you have all of these in place. What do you think?
Mhm. Definitely, I think definitely, and maybe another thing that I think companies should make sure that they're doing is to connect different people across the business. So AI security and the AI strategy and the AI governance of companies is a multidisciplinary effort. It's not just living within security, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there needs to be the AI builders need to be part of the conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
technology people, and
Mm-hmm.
legal and privacy and compliance, and maybe some representation of the business units, because at the end of the day, AI needs to move the needle for the business itself. So I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's another thing relating to what you said in terms of AI governance and security to be a shared effort of so many different stakeholders within the company.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so let's move on to our last question. So we want to know,
Mm,
what role does Tenable play,
yeah.
in mitigating the risks that enterprises are facing in the adoption of AI, and maybe you have solutions that you can share about with our
Yeah.
audience today.
Yeah. So, for us at Tenable, we take this, risk very seriously. And I don't think we mentioned that, but so I was the co-founder of Apex Security. We were a startup that was acquired by Tenable about 4 months ago. And the reason was exactly that, to make the Tenable AI Security offering very, very comprehensive and to address those risks. So we took what we had back then in the startup, and we took many, many additional capabilities that already existed at Tenable, and we're building the AI exposure solution at Tenable. And I think the reason that it's also very important for us is because we see this as a natural evolvement of the exposure that companies have. And our mission is to really help companies identify and mitigate their exposure in general. That's been the mission of Tenable for the last few decades, right? So that's why we take AI
Mhm.
very, very seriously. So what we do with our Tenable One platform and the AI exposure capabilities that we have is, first of all, help with the visibility. So exactly what I mentioned,
Mhm.
finding what's the AI footprint, what's the AI risk within all environments. So within the
Mhm.
endpoint, within the cloud, within the network, within data platforms, within the AI platforms themselves, like Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT Enterprise, and others. So that's the first thing that we help our customers get.
Mhm.
Um, Another aspect of the visibility that we help our customers with is actually understanding what exact AI usage is happening. So, what are the different things that people do with AI? And this is a pretty unique capability. So, do people use AI for analyzing the most sensitive financial files, for
Mhm.
generating the most critical code or intellectual property, for making some critical decisions, hiring decisions, investment decisions? So, it's really, really deep understanding of the
Mhm.
AI usage of companies. So, that's another part of the visibility
Okay.
that we provide to our customers. And
Mhm.
then we help them identify misconfigurations. So the exact
Mhm.
thing that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a Copilot Studio agent that is based on sensitive files and connected to the internet. So it
Mhm.
instantly just exposes super sensitive files to the internet, right? And this is not a made up example. We found it for so many organizations,
Oh,
unfortunately.
wow.
Yeah. And the last thing that we help is to understand whether AI exploitation or AI manipulation actually took place. Was there
Mhm.
any AI attack, like a prompt injection jailbreak or any other manipulation on the AI?
Mhm.
Maybe malicious actions been taken. So these are the things that we're doing for our customers, and we're really happy that we can help them, innovate with AI, but not be exposed to its risks.
So is it more like a consulting that you guys do? Are there
No, it's,
particular tools that they can be deployed as well to keep track
yeah,
of, all the
yeah.
activities?
Yeah, no, so it's definitely all software that we provide, right? It's a software as a service. It's a product that we're delivering to our customers. We
Mm-hmm.
also help them, and we have some professional services capabilities, but the core is the product that we have as part of the Tenable One
Okay.
platform.
Okay.
Yeah, and many customers are very happy about it.
Okay. And this is a SaaS platform.
Exactly,
All
exactly,
right. Okay. So basically, customers, enterprises can just plug into the Tenable One platform, and then,
exactly.
like you mentioned, you provide us, they can go into the platform and see and have a like full visibility into
Mm,
the activities that are taking place, according to all the things, the footprint, and across the cloud, the platform,
yeah,
the platforms that they use, and also, like you said, exactly what usage of AI is taking place
yeah,
across the
yeah,
enterprise. Okay. So it's like
yeah,
so it's basically like a one control panel that allows you to really
exactly.
keep tabs of what's happening in terms of AI.
Mm,
Yeah.
exactly,
All
exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that sounds really awesome, and it's really interesting that you joined the
Mm.
company. I mean, did you say like
Mm.
4 months back?
Yeah, it's been 4 months. It feels like 4 years because everything, is very
Yes. Yes.
intense and
Yeah.
there's a lot of demand and lots of customers. So it definitely feels more than that. But yeah, it happened in June. Yeah, so only 4 months.
Oh, okay. Related. Congratulations. It's
Thank you.
it's
Thank you.
exciting, isn't it? That you build something so valuable, and then you have to continue, and the mandate is even bigger now because I guess you're looking at bigger customers,
Yeah,
more critical enterprises and
exactly.
stuff. Well,
Exactly. Exactly.
that's really amazing. So I guess that
Thank you.
brings us to the end of our session. So thank you, Toma,
Mhm.
for joining us and for sharing your
Thank you.
insights on AI security vulnerabilities and also Tenable's role in this space.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and to everyone tuning in, thank you guys for listening. If you want to learn more, visit www.tenable.com and follow us for more updates and insights
Yeah.
as we continue to uncover the latest in technology and telecommunications. See you in our next session. Bye bye.